Welcome, Internet, to the PixelPlay podcast, your weekly podcast where we get together to discuss all the news, rumors, and discussions going on in the video game world. I am one of your co-hosts, Kaylan, aka Ktastrophy, coming back from a much-needed vacation. I am the man with the tan. Joining me is my co-host, Adam, CSRadical. This week, we are going to be recapping Sony PlayStation State of Play from June, as well as predicting what's coming up in the Xbox Showcase coming up this week. And if we're talking Xbox, we are, of course, talking to Kevin, aka the Muffin Man, once again joining us. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Excited to get the invite. I love coming hanging out with you guys. It's always a good time, always a fun show, and I hoping we have some spicy predictions for this Xbox Showcase.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see what you guys have come up with. I think mine are a little bit safer bets, but I'm excited to talk about it. You know, as the resident, PlayStation fanboy, I'm excited to always talk about Xbox. Adam, how are you doing?
I'm doing okay. I feel like, if we're going to be accurately talking about an Xbox showcase, I should, periodically throughout the show disappear, come back with a different shirt on, aka, gotta get my Phil Spencer act going on. I mean, I guess that would be my hot prediction. Phil Spencer will wear that. You know what? We have sports betting now here in Canada, finally. We need to start having showcase betting odds. I want to know, what's the over-under for shirts for Phil Spencer over the course of an entire thing? What's the number? Is it 3.5, 2.5, 4.5? What's it going to be?
Yeah, how many shirts is Phil Spencer? How many costume changes is Phil Spencer going to have? Now, the question is, do you think that those are actually real t-shirts, or do you think they're just tearaways? He's got 3 or 4 layers and he just rips them off in between takes.
Oh, I think he's like Mystique from X-Men. He just actually that's his superpowers. He just materializes shirts on him.
He just has
I don't even think they're real shirts. I think he literally it comes from his mind.
Or he's just got a green screen shirt on it. Just
CGI.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they got the budget.
Hey, Microsoft has been working on that augmented reality. That's pretty much that's all R&D for Phil Spencer shirts.
I mean, we're coming up with a lot of conspiracy theories here, and I think all of them sound great. So you know what? All of them. All of the above. He's doing all of them at once. It doesn't even matter that he only needs to do one. He's doing all 4.
Fair enough. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started with what happened last week. So last week there was the State of Play that came out, and I think generally it was a good one. I want to hear what you guys had to think. We could go over some of the games that were announced, what speaks to us. Quick, but without going into detail on the games, generally, what would you guys say of the State of Play? What would you guys say about it? Kev, you go first. You're the guest.
This was hands down the best State of Play that they've ever had. And I say that very confidently because the bar has been set pretty low.
I was about to say, you could have tripped over the bar, basically, the way it's been.
I went into it expecting a few middle-sized announcements, nothing huge. And then they absolutely blew it out of the park from the first announcement with Resident Evil 4 remake. Mm-hmm. And then you get things like Stray release date coming to PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium. You get Street Fighter 6. You get the VR call Horizon, the Saint and Sinners thing. So there was something for literally everyone in this State of Play, even though it was mainly third party and VR focused, which I know they said that, but then they announced some first party stuff in there too, which I was like, I see what you're doing, Sony. But yeah, fantastic showcase.
Now, before I jump over to Adam, you mentioned that this is by far the best one. Was this best one doesn't necessarily mean a good one? Was this a successful show, or are we just saying that this has just been, do they still have room for improvement, or is this what a State of Play should be? Is this the benchmark?
It depends. If State of Play is specifically going to be for these third-party games that you have published or marketing deals for, and not your first party unless you're doing a deep dive, because we've seen with other State of Plays, they tend to do okay, we're going to focus on Horizon Forbidden West, Gran Turismo 7, and those get their own dedicated State of Plays, which are great. But I feel like the big first-party announcements are still saved for that dedicated PlayStation showcase that they do once a year in the fall time. So right now, State of Play is when they get announced, it's still, don't expect too much. I would not say this is going to be the bar going forward, but this was a very good one just because of the game showcase, the pacing. I couldn't have asked for better than what they delivered, knowing what was going to be there, like the third party in VR.
Mhm. Adam, what about you? What did you think of the state of play? What would you what's your feedback on it?
Yeah, I would largely agree with what Kevin just said. I mean, as we said earlier, the bar that you had to cross to be better than most state of play is firmly on the ground. So it wouldn't have taken a whole lot. And just alone from starting up with Resident Evil 4 Remake kind of like set the tone right from the very beginning. Whereas a lot of the time they start off with, a middling game or something that, you already have kind of been aware of. So it's not really that surprising. Not to say that we didn't know Resident Evil 4 Remake was a thing. It's been the worst kept secret for like 3 years. But to finally see it existing, with at least like that got my attention. I wish I had made it into home in time to actually stream that, because my reaction was pretty it was a big pop when I saw that. And then as the show kept going, I kept thinking, okay, I know there's gonna be a lot of VR stuff in here, so I'm gonna temper it. There's probably not much else. But then the Stray news came in, and then you had the Caligula, or not Caligula,
Callisto Protocol.
Callisto Protocol, thank you.
Phenomenal.
And then also the Street Fighter 6 stuff, which, I knew was already existing, but to see a little bit more about it. And then even, just even the VR stuff, like the Horizon one, albeit I know a lot of people got really upset with like the hand stuff, but that's VR right now, guys. It's still 2022. We're working on it. But like by the end of that show, I went, okay, did I walk away like absolutely mind blown? No, but I also didn't walk away being like, well, there goes 30 minutes of my day.
Yeah, and I'm inclined to agree. I think this was probably the most successful state of play, and is probably the example of what state of play should be. Was everything geared towards me? Was I kind of, oh my God, after each thing? No, but I could see how, there was something that I could tell that even if I wasn't excited, I know that there's somebody somewhere who was like, yes, I am excited to hear about this. I want to hear more about this. Like,
yeah, you got the sense that like whatever showed up here was important. It wasn't just here's an update on this middling indie game that no one knows what it is, or like hey, here's an update for like I don't know, like I'm not saying this intentionally because it's them, but here's like 5 minutes on Bug Snacks again. Like it's not that. It's more like, hey guys, like here's some new stuff you haven't seen before. Here's an update on something that is around, but it's a big name. It's not just here's an update that's going to take forever on this game that no one really cares about except for like 5% of our customer base.
Liv is screaming at you right now after that comment. About
me too. Bug Snacks is dope. But speaking of game like updates, Final Fantasy 16, like I think that was the big one that everyone was like, okay, this is where they're going to show it off, because we had heard plenty from Square Enix and the director and producer. They were like, oh, we got more to say. It's coming. Don't worry. And we're like, all right, this has to be the one. And then you see the gameplay, which to me, I don't know how a PS5 is going to run that game, because it looked stunning. Like the giant spirit battles with like Ifrit and Garuda. And I'm like, oh my God, this game is the potential to be something really special, in my opinion. I'm not the biggest Final Fantasy 15 fan. It was fine, and I played it before they like fixed things, and fine is really all I can say for it. But like 16 looks to be like, okay, they're going to get back to something that makes Final Fantasy really special, like they kind of did with Remake, right? Like 7 Remake, where everyone universally loves that game. I think they're taking that energy going forward.
I'm hoping so, but I can't help. And I mean, I'm sure me and Chris will talk about it on Saturday's Cartridge and Quarters, because of course we love to shit on Square Enix usually on that show. I can't help but look at this and see the battle system, which again just looks so Kingdom Heartsy to me, which I didn't particularly enjoy much with 15. And I feel like they're focused on like almost what looks like a Kaiju War of the Monsters level like battle system that they're trying to pull off with all the Aeons or summons or whatever you want to call them in this game. There's a part of me that's going, okay, I feel like they're going for a gimmick again, and every time Final Fantasy tries to be gimmicky, it always ends up falling flat on the story, which is the whole point. And nothing that I've seen in terms of what they show in the trailers suddenly got my attention on the story either. So I'm going in like I have been lately with Final Fantasy. Well, for the last, I say lately, it's been 20 years. But like I'm going in like very skeptical, because every time I see this, I keep thinking, okay, it looks like it might be good, but behind the curtain, what's actually happening behind all of this? And my worry is that much like 15, it's going to play decently, going to look fantastic, but once you get to a certain point in the story, it's just going to lose every bit of momentum it has, because 15 in a nutshell was good concept, and then when they tried to get serious with the story, it just fell flat. And my concern is similar to that with 16 as well.
I think what's giving me more confidence, right, is because this isn't the team that did 15. This is the team that did 14, right? And 14 is kind of like a huge success now. Like everyone I know that plays 14 loves the story, the gameplay. Like they really turned that game around.
Yeah, for me, like,
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Go ahead. I'm sidetracking it.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I've from what I have played of 14, like I'm not like saying that it's not a lack of confidence. It's just, again, it's an overall feeling with Square that I have right now, because apart from 7 Remake, most of what's come out of them has been very mediocre to me, and I feel like they've lost a lot of what made them what they were. I don't feel like they understand what kind of stories they wrote that actually got people's attention now. I think now it's very much like they're trying to write anime, and I feel like if they wanted to do that, they should just stop trying to be the overtly realistic game, because it's not meshing very well with the kind of game they're writing. Because the way that the convoluted storylines they come up with is so perfectly suited for like a 3 to 4 season anime mystery setup fantasy thing, and instead they're trying to do this, like, partially, kind of fun loving but super serious, and in this case now more like fantasy, like Dungeons and Dragons level, like epic. And I find with the way they try to M. Night Shyamalan things, it's usually not going to pay off very well. So, like, it's not lack of confidence in the team with this. It's just lacking confidence overall of the name that's on the cover.
See, for me, I am not a Final Fantasy person. Never played a Final Fantasy game. For me, thematically, this one kind of appeals to me. So, like, thematically, at least, I'm probably not going to play it, but it's at least enticing me that I'm like, oh, I kind of want to check this out and see what comes of it. But thematically, it's where you're kind of have concerns, Adam. I'm kind of like, yeah, it seems more appealing than something like Final Fantasy 15 did. Boy band road trip. So
hold up, you've never played Final Fantasy 7 Remake?
Nope.
Wow, because that, if there's a game that for Final Fantasy, like if you're not a Final Fantasy fan, try that one. Like I'm sure it'll come to PS Plus or whatever eventually. Like
I think I already have it through PlayStation
already,
Plus.
Okay. Well, it did for a month. They might. It might be in the extra tiers for all we know. But of course, they haven't announced everything yet. If
you ever get to it, like that is one that I think can convince non-Final Fantasy. Like that's one that can get you in.
Okay. I'm kind of in a bit of a drought right now. I'm playing Lego Star Wars, but
well, you're also not typically the JRPG guy, so it makes sense that Final Fantasy hasn't really gotten to your attention, so it's not that surprising.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For sure.
The last JRPG game I played was Pokemon, if you even count that.
Baby's first JRPG.
I mean, basically, exactly. You might as well call it JRPG. A copy and paste the same formula over and over again. That's a JRPG in a nutshell.
Pretty much, yeah. And that was, I think I played Silver, and that was the last one. That's the last
one.
Oh,
wow.
I mean, to be fair, the last one that I truly enjoyed was that era. I tried like Ruby, I've tried X, I've tried like many of them over the years, and all of them I'm like, it's the same thing that I played when I was a kid, and I'm way too old for this shit. I can't do it.
Kevin, just to let you know, we're old men here. Look at the beard.
I'm gonna be 30 next year. I'm getting up there.
Although I have been told I do need to try Pokemon Legends Arceus or Arceus, whatever the newer one is, because it's definitely taking a different step.
So I played it. It definitely takes a different direction. Not to get on a tangent, but I personally thought it was just okay. It depends on what you like. If you like doing the same thing over and over again in an open world, then yeah, you'll probably like it. But for me, I'm more of I catch them once and then move on, which that game does not reward. You have to catch them over and over and over.
Oh, okay. Well, suddenly now I'm not that interested.
and it's gone. So let's quickly just run through the games. I'll kind of go through the list, and if you guys want to talk about it, we'll kind of highlight some of the big ones. We've already talked about Final Fantasy 16. Mm-hmm. We talked a little bit about it. Resident Evil 4 remake. Where do you guys fall on that?
What would be interesting about that game? It's not like it's probably the most popular Resident Evil game that there is out there, and that they've ever made, because that one seemed to be the one that everybody universally liked, and it was the best bridge between like horror and action.
I'm not a Resident Evil guy. I'm too much of a chicken to play those kind of games. I try. I get Resident Evil 4 was actually the first one I ever tried, and I gave the controller to my brother after like I got to the opening village. I was like, can't do it. It's too creepy. But I am excited, not for me, but for like the Resident Evil fans because it looks very good. And it's not just a remake like they did with 2 and 3. It's a reimagining. So things are going to be different. Don't go into it expecting like a one-to-one remake like you got with Demon Souls. They're taking a different perspective on this
Yeah,
game.
it sounds like they're doing similar to a 7 remake in terms of how they're
Hmm.
it's going to be like similar, but it's also going to take probably a couple of turns differently than what you're used to. Not to mention, I mean, we've seen how they've overhauled already 2 and 3, so you can't expect 4 to be any different.
Yeah,
I've
Resident
still got to
Evil
go
is
back and
another.
play 2 and 3 as well. Hopefully that's something I can get around to as well, because I've played demos of them and I actually have enjoyed them, so I think I might actually be able to get through those.
I've never played a Resident Evil game yet either, so we'll put that on the list of games I've never played either. So
I won't be touching 7 or 8 because first person, I have seen enough clips of it to know that that is a no-go zone. I have seen the clip of the giant baby thing in Village, and I have no interest, no interest in that.
But
Village
they're
kind of appeals to me. It kind of seems like a fun kind of carnival ride to go on, and I'm kind of tempted, but I'm also not.
so what I've heard about Village is that you either fall into two camps. One, you think it's horrifying. Two, you think it's silly and ridiculous.
I think there's a third camp that thinks it's erotic, but
That's
No,
true.
For the
That's very
first
true.
couple hours are definitely erotic. Let's not kid ourselves.
And now you could be erotic in VR.
Oh,
exactly.
you know that's got people's attention right there.
Let's circle this. I'm going to bring these three in. So we got Resident Evil Village is coming and being developed for PSVR 2. We have No Man's Sky being developed for PSVR 2.
Which is a
or,
fantastic idea.
right? And then we also had the Horizon Call of the Mountain
Mhm.
being developed as well for PSVR 2. Let's just kind of put those into one category.
Sure.
One thing I found that was really interesting is that we got a release date, I think, for Resident Evil Village, or was it Horizon Call of the Mountain, of 2022. So that indicates that PSVR 2 is coming out this year.
Yeah, I think that was still their goal, so it wouldn't be surprising if we get like I would not be shocked if the next state of play we see is legitimately directed towards all of that, like all the information we need on that.
So I know what you're talking about. The 2022 date was attached to the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners
That's what it
sequel.
was, yeah.
And if you read the PlayStation blog, it says currently being developed for PSVR 1 for 2022, PSVR 2, but in the state of play it said 2020. Like they did not do a very good job of specifying, like, because they're like, this is on PSVR 2, 2022, and the 2022 date is for PSVR 1, and they did again, poor communication here. It
Sneaky
seems to be a
Sony.
theme. Yeah.
I mean, we
classic.
all know that like at the latest we're gonna get it next year, so we know it's coming. We're just
I'd
waiting.
say
We're just
by
waiting for
March.
that
Like,
official
oh,
news.
I just thought it was a weird tip of the hand of Sony to kind of be
Mhm.
like, yep, it's coming out. So
For sure.
what did you guys overall think one of the games being presented, and did this sell you on PSVR 2 for what we've seen?
No, it didn't sell me on it didn't sell me on VR. I still can't get over, and I think Horizon is probably the best example. The hands. When I was live reacting, there's like video footage of me being like, I do not like the creepy floating hand. Like I understand it's like a VR thing, but I don't know at what point do we move past like seeing these weird floating hands.
Mhm.
And maybe we
Yeah.
don't ever move past that point. But
Yeah,
like
because what's stopping us from getting like arms into this? Like, is it really that difficult that we can't have like forearms
To be
as well?
fair, how long did it get us to get feet in first person shooters?
That you raise a valid point.
no, I'm not sold on it. It'll depend heavily on the games that come out for it. Like if they start porting, because based on what we saw here, 100% this thing is not backwards compatible. Because No Man's Sky
I hope it's not.
it already exists on PSVR 1. They basically confirmed that they are redeveloping the game for PSVR 2. And that to me says every PSVR 1 game that you have right now will not work, and they're either going to have to port them or redevelop them, which makes sense because they've changed the whole fundamentals of how PSVR works with the new controllers.
think it
But
unshackles them if like I think sticking with the old
mhm,
one would have shackled them and tied them up to
for
not a
sure.
failing ship, but like it's not, it would have really hampered the potential of what they can.
Yeah,
For
you could
sure.
you can also make the argument too that like VR1 just doesn't have the library that really matters that much.
Mhm.
So it's not really much of a loss. I think if they're really taking like if this is the real effort at trying to get VR gaming going, like just do whatever you got to do. Just make sure you're pushing the content out. So if that ends up being the decision, then that's fine. Just make sure that it's not just the few games at launch and then it's nothing again for like 2 years.
The thing that kind of I was looking at it, and I mean the games look great. Like they definitely look a step up from the previous
Oh
VR
yeah.
game offerings. Like definitely an improvement. But the thing that I saw that kind of discouraged me or kind of dampened my excitement is like I looked at No Man's Sky, and No Man's Sky does that stupid thing where it's like hover to where you want to teleport to next. Um, and then I saw Horizon, and Horizon for the most part feels like it's just a lot of climbing. And like I get that's part of Horizon, whatever, but like it didn't seem like it seemed like it was just a lot of like a gimmick of just like grab the next thing, grab the next thing.
Mhm.
And then when you're fighting a lot of these robots, there doesn't seem to be a lot of mobility. It seems like it's dodge left, dodge right. And like I was kind of hoping with having those sticks on the controllers that it was going to be more, hey, you can now have mobility in the game. You're not tied, like almost do a first person game with a VR headset as your camera direction. But maybe it was just the way they demoed it, but it didn't quite. That's the gripe that I had with VR1 that I was hoping with VR2 is that there's going to be more mobility and freedom for an immersion aspect that I can walk and look at the same time, which I don't understand why that's such a hard thing. You set the camera to wherever my visor is looking and you make one of the two analog sticks be my feet and which way I'm walking.
Mhm. I
That
think you
was for me.
nailed it though. That was my interpretation of how the game's going to play as well.
Yeah, it's gonna be like go into like climb, climb, climb. Up, you're at a battle area.
Little
Dodge to the
shooting
left, dodge to the
gallery.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, a
yeah.
little shooting gallery kind of thing with a little bit of mobility that you can dodge. But I mean, you already have that with the VR1. Like you can tilt to the left, tilt to the right. I don't know. I want to see how it comes out. I'm very inclined to still get VR because I sucker for Sony, but it's not grabbing me yet. But I know once it gets closer, it will.
Mhm.
Yeah, we talked. We didn't talk too much about Street Fighter 6. Anyone excited about that? Anyone got any thoughts on that? I'm not a Street Fighter guy.
I like fighting games. Street Fighter's not my jam though. The only thing I'll say is it's not exclusive anymore, so everyone can play it on everything, which I think is great for the fighting game community.
The open world thing is an interesting aspect to it, but like
Ah,
similar story. Like if I'm interested in a fighting game, Street Fighter is very low on the list compared to most. So it's not exactly anything that's going to get my attention. Like I'd rather be interested in what the next thing Arc System Works is doing rather than whatever Street Fighter's got, because I haven't really cared about a Street Fighter game since Super Nintendo. So
Hmm. For sure.
we forgot to mention and tie in The Walking Dead Saints and Sinners. That game looks awesome, but that's in that VR2 camp. I thought that looked really interesting. That's probably the most exciting. That seemed like the most next gen VR game that I saw. Then the fact it's tied to the first one, it kind of
And the first Saints and Sinners is like one of the most highly rated titles on the current VR, so that makes sense.
mhm.
yeah. We got a little bit more of a trailer for Stray. Is Stray pushing the needle for anybody?
Doesn't matter because it's going to be free for extra now.
Day one for me. I'm
Yeah.
I'm them putting it in extra premium tier, which I'll have for 2 years, because I stacked the PS Now. I'm there regardless. I was gonna pay for it, but you just saved me some money there, Sony.
It was the idea
Nice.
too that they finally tipped their hand and be like, "Hey, something's going to be day one. It's not going to be
Hmm.
just we're going to wait X amount of time." So we have now the tip of their hand that like, "Hey, some of our first party stuff we will put day one for you guys." And at least maybe it's like a test thing, and I think Stray is probably the best situation to test on because it's not one of their big ones. It's not like throwing Ragnarok on there. So this is definitely a good test to see like how the value of this would be if they decide to put some of their larger games onto that. I think that what this will do is just show that what will likely happen is games like this, and if you see some other things sort of like in the Concrete Genie era, like you'll see like those day one, and then
Hmm.
hopefully sometime within like 6 months you'd see the big names after that put on extra.
Gonna be 6 months, buddy.
I'm thinking at least a year before they put put big titles on
I think
there.
it's dependent on the game too. Like, I mean, if you're looking at like say Horizon or whatever else, I think you'd be looking at more a year for that because I mean, it also depends too if they're going to keep working on DLC for these games too.
Well, I think live service games are day one. They're live service initiatives. I think those are going in day one. I think they'll continue to get more third party, smaller games like Stray, because it's not a first party game. So they are keeping their word there by not putting their first party in. I think their live service first party will go in, and then I think they're gonna get these indie and smaller, maybe double A games they'll pick up.
Which is still fun because it's better than
Sony
nothing.
Art House games. I was gonna say like the Sony Art House games, like you mentioned, like the Concrete Genies and stuff, where it's like it's a niche audience, right? Cool. Spider-Man gets announced for PC. No one, I think, is surprised.
Yeah, no, it's great to know, and apparently Stray is going to be day one on PC as well, which is a good sign to say that Sony's not going to leave alone the PC market for a while. So it seems like whatever they've been doing with the games they are putting out on is being very successful. So I'm glad to hear that because it means PC users will finally get to have a little bit more of the stuff. I'm sure we'll be seeing Uncharted down the road soon. Maybe Last of Us eventually will get announced for PC as well. We're going to start seeing that roll out more and more because it looks like it's doing extremely well for them.
I thought it was going to be Returnal. I thought it was going to be Returnal when they said a fan favorite's coming to PC. And I was like, oh, this is Returnal. Like, this got leaked. And then it said Insomniac and it's Marvel. And I was like, it's Spider-Man? Like, I was kind of freaking out, even though, like, I'm just going to play Spider-Man on my PS5. I'm going to play Spider-Man.
Yeah, but, like, it's great, too, that, like, you're getting to a point now that you're not just thinking, oh, they're just going to throw, like, the ones that don't matter on it. Now you're like, oh, okay, so they're willing to put basically anything on there.
Yep, 100%.
Just imagine a bunch of, like, PC players with the J. Jonah Jameson meme of just slamming the table like, I want Spider-Man.
So,
I need mods for Spider-Man.
Oh my God,
know somebody's going to make a mod where it's J. Jonah Jameson as Spider-Man now.
Oh my God, that'll be so good. The mods for that'll be really interesting because you're going to get like people doing like cool costumes for like the villains and stuff. And
I'm now imagining every time you do like one of those big finishing moves as the J. Jonah Jameson, he's about to go like punch somebody into submission, be like, I want Spider-Man.
It is mod the game. It's just your J. Jonah Jameson searching for Spider-Man through the city.
Completely different game.
But you keep the audio bits in there, so it's still J. Jonah Jameson listening to himself because you know he fucking would too.
Oh, he totally does. All right. Next they had the Combat Arena Roller Dome.
I don't care about this at all.
Yeah, I didn't care much for it. I actually thought it was going to be I can't think of what the name of the indie game was. Yes, I thought it was going to be that initially, and then all of a sudden I saw
Ubisoft also making like a roller derby sort of game.
It came out. Roller Champions came out like.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, how's that?
And I saw footage of it. It looks horrible. I'm not interested at all in that.
Yeah, the fact that I didn't even know it came out is not a good omen for that.
Yeah, it's like dead already.
Oh yeah. One of the ones that I kind of liked was the Callisto project. Is that how you pronounce it? Callisto
Protocol, right?
Yeah, Callisto Protocol.
Again,
I swear to God, I thought it was Dead Space. I was so shocked when it wasn't Dead Space as the title.
It's because it's Glenn Schofield, the creator of Dead Space.
Okay, so it's kind of inspired. Okay.
Yeah, it's because
we know there's supposed to be the remake as well.
Yeah, well, so this is the interesting thing. So I'm just looking it up here, and Dead Space is coming out January 27th, supposedly. Once again, everything's getting delayed. January 27th, and the Callisto project is coming out December 3rd. Like, there is literally like 2 months between these two games coming out.
This is feeling like a Fallout 76 followed by the Outer Worlds situation, isn't it?
It's very much so. Like, it's one of those, like, they're two markets, and like, I don't know, like, one is going to suffer, and I think it's more likely to be the Callisto Protocol is going to be like, people are going to be like, I'm just going to wait for the Dead Space remake.
I actually disagree. I have the opposite impression. I think Callisto Protocol is going to be better and well received than the Dead Space remake.
Yeah, people reacted to the trailer very well.
Oh, for sure. But I just like, I feel like it's gonna be so close, and it's gonna be around Christmas that, like, you know, I don't know how the sales are gonna be, and then people are gonna just be like, I'm just gonna wait for Dead Space, and then I'll
the audience that would play this, it doesn't matter when you put it out. It's the same thing. Like, you could put like any From Software game at any random thing. They have their niche that's already carved out. They will bypass anything they're doing for this kind of stuff. And I think Dead Space fans in general, they've been looking for something like this for a while. That person is not me because I played Dead Space 1, and as much as I did like it, eventually my brain was like, no, we need to stop this right now before our nightmares get too consistent.
I'm excited to try Dead Space, and
the trailer of Callisto Protocol basically made me go, yeah, this is exactly the same shit that I have to back away from.
My brother is a huge survival horror guy, so he's eaten well. December Callisto Protocol, January Dead Space remake, and then March is Resident Evil 4 remake. So it's a good period right there if you're a survival horror fan. I will be watching from the corner and being like, no, thank you.
It was funny. I was watching the state of play on my phone, and I think the first game came up was that roller derby one or whatever. And I'm watching it, and my son's like sitting beside me, like watching the screen. I'm like, okay, like, you know, whatever. It's harmless cartoon violence or whatever. I'm not a great parent. And then this comes on, and I'm like turning the screen because I'm like, I don't think you should see this. And he's just like, what is that? And I'm like, no, we're not watching that right now with you. So,
Daddy, what happened to that guy's face?
It's like, oh, he had jam on it. It's the thing was just licking it off of him. Okay, good, okay.
Yeah, because that's what want my sons to think, that we're all just filled with jam. The thing that he loves to eat, we're all just filled with it. If he like opens us up, he can have more jam. Not doing that. Then they mentioned Season, A Letter to the Future. This is the kind of stuff I'd tune out for on.
Yep, this was my boring game of the show.
Like, sure, maybe it'll do it, but like these are the kind of games that like trailers don't really
work for.
Do it justice, right? Like these are ones that you have to have people like with word of mouth.
This is the day. This is the day one PlayStation Plus kind of game because it's the only way you're going to get a lot of people to try some of these. It is the advantage of Game Pass, honestly. It's that it allows you to just try stuff that you normally wouldn't because it's not costing you anything extra.
Yeah. I've heard good things about this game from people that played it at PAX, but like I do not think whatever it is, the trailer did not sell me on it.
Yeah, and this is what I'm saying. This is not one of those games that I don't think that you could make a trailer for this. I think it's one of those you just kind of, hey, you know, let the word of mouth kind of spread and get people to go on that way. The one I was super excited for, Tunic, is coming to PlayStation. It's finally happening. September. Super excited for that. Yes, I could get Game Pass, but that's not how I roll. I need to get those, you know, trophies. So
he's a real homer.
You know.
Homer. That's
and
a Canadian
I guess
thing.
all that's left is Anime the video game, which was what Eternites was, and it was awful. Even as the anime guy, I went, okay, guys, this is a bit much.
Oh no. I'm not having this, Adam. We're disagreeing here. Eternites is looking great, especially after the fact where the developer was like, 3 years ago, I played Persona 5 Royal, then I played Persona 3 and Persona 4, and then I quit my job to make Eternites. And first of all, great turnaround if you did all that in like 3 years. But JRPG dating sim, man, what is not to like about this?
And an action adventure game too.
Yeah.
I will say, based on what I saw in this trailer, I went, oh, this is giving me the same vibes that Scarlet Nexus did, where I went, this is going to be a lifeless game that is going to have nothing else to it except for the fan art that people are going to draw of it.
I 100% in Scarlet Nexus. I love that game.
Okay, well, then I guess we have our impasse.
See, I was looking. I mean, once again, I am not the target audience by a long shot.
Don't get me wrong. I like my anime bullshit.
I was looking at this. I'm like, this is not for me. And it's like dating sim action adventure game, and like it focuses on his right hand, and I'm like, nah, this joke just writes itself. I'm gonna leave it. So
R2 to hold hands.
Yeah, they held hands. That is the most disgusting thing I've ever seen in a trailer in my life.
Keep it in the bedroom, guys. Like, there's a time and place.
I mean, look, if people say it's amazing, I'll take a look at it. But like, I get the same vibes that I got with a lot of JRPGs, like in the PS2, PS3, Xbox 360 eras, where I went, okay, this looks like it's designed to get horny teenagers to buy it, and then by the time they realize it's a bad game, it's too late. They've already got their waifu, and they have to finish it.
And those of us that did buy it are still buying it as horny 30-year-olds.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's Persona. That's Persona and Trails of Cold Steel. I got that stuff covered. I've got my niche.
Okay, fair.
All right. So yeah, that wraps up State of Play. Let's move on to Or does anyone have any closing thoughts about Sony, or do we want to move right on to Xbox?
Just make them all like this level. Can we not have a state of play where I go, wow, there was like one thing in here I'm marginally interested in, and then a bunch of other things?
This needs to be the standard of what a PlayStation state of play needs to be.
Yeah, and like, look, we're not. Hopefully, it'll be more like that because now that we're getting presumably out of this pandemic, it's gonna stop being like a run of everything's like so far delayed that there's nothing to show. Hopefully we're at a point now that state of plays, if they're doing them every 2 months or so, that there's consistently something to show, that it will be like that. So hopefully that's what we start seeing going forward. But we'll see. I'll have my expectations tempered once more for the bar that used to be on the ground when the next one happens, because I'm assuming that we're probably going to get another one of those before we get back to this level again.
It's a bad sign when I see a state of play and I'm like, I'll watch it later. Like, I've never done that before, and I'm at the point where I'm like, I'll catch it if I need to. And it was a good one, but yeah, like they need to step it up a bit because diehard fans are starting to kind of wane in terms of watching these things.
I'm ready to be heard again.
Sorry?
I'm ready to be heard again.
Exactly. All right, so let's move on from presentations that were, and let's talk about presentations that are about to be. So Xbox is coming out with a Xbox showcase that's going to be coming up on Sunday. Look forward to that. I thought for this one, what we could just first do is just talk about generalities in terms of the state of Xbox for 2022, what's coming down the pipe, what they sort of need to bring to this, what they need to sort of do in this conference, if they need to do anything, and then we can kind of go nitty gritty with some expectations. So just general state of Xbox, what do they need to bring to this conference, and then we'll go nitty gritty in terms of what we want. Kevin, you are the resident, Xbox person here, so we'll leave it to you to start with, and then I guess we'll go in seniority in terms of exposure. So Adam, you'll be second, and then I'll go last because I don't have a horse in this game. So Kev, first of all, where are we with Xbox? What's the state of Xbox, and what do they generally need to do in this showcase to kind of come out on top?
So 2022 has been a rough year for Xbox, I would say. I think they've had some good Game Pass additions throughout the year. Obviously, all third party and indies. We've gotten things like Mass Effect Legendary Edition, Guardians of the Galaxy. We haven't got the day and date third party releases like we saw last year with things like Outriders. So we are lacking on that front a little bit. I know Sniper Elite 5 just dropped day and date, so that was kind of like the first big one of the year, and that's been well received. But in general, first party output is non-existent this year. We were really banking on Redfall and Starfield to be the two big first party drops, and then they got delayed. So now it's really like, what does Xbox have? And that is what they kind of need to show at this conference. And the worry is that they don't have anything, because when you list off their big titles that have been announced, like Avowed, Hellblade, those games are expected next year or 2024 for some like Fable, Everwild. So the games they have announced, we're not expecting to get this early. The games we expected to get this year are not coming. So what does that leave Xbox? It leaves them in a very precarious position where they need to find third-party games to get onto Game Pass day and date, is my opinion, how they rectify this situation. They can certainly have some secret first-party projects that we don't know about. I'm banking on at least one first-party game that we don't know about coming this year. I don't think it's going to be AAA level, like blow your socks off, 90 Metacritic, but I do think they have something. I think they need to focus on filling their gaps with third-party games this year. Get some sort of like big hitters for the fall. Gotham Knights. I don't know if they can do Hogwarts because I think Sony has the marketing rights to that. Look at what's coming out and try to fill the gaps as much as possible. Fill the fighting games if you can, the family games, third-person over-the-shoulders, platformers, whatever you don't have for this year, try to find someone else and work with them for it.
What about you? What's the state of Xbox, and what do they need to do at this conference?
Well, as someone who recently got a Series X finally and been messing with Game Pass on and off, it's done its job, but it hasn't left me with the impression that it's the only place to be anymore. Whereas we were talking about how, Sony was, you were there for whatever Sony would pump out once in a blue moon, but if you were going on Xbox, you were getting so much stuff early and so much stuff day one. And like Kevin just said, nothing major has come out this year and continues to stay that way. So it's really going to be a matter of, I don't think there's anything Xbox can honestly do to save this year. I think what they need to do now is to try to at least damage control and also try to at least offer something else, whether that means they threw a little bit of money at X company to try to get a quick port done so they can get something that they don't have that people have been kind of craving for. And I think overall, like, they need to be pushing Game Pass more, I think is the objective at this point now, because it's all they have to push. So, for example, if we wanted to start throwing up predictions, I think they need to at least give an idea of when we expect that TV stick version of Game Pass ASAP, because they need something to start pushing out there too, especially for their shareholders to be like, hey, we're still moving forward with this. We're still increasing the numbers, because it's not going to be through their game sales, because they're not selling games right now because nothing's releasing. So it's a bit of a catch-22. Like, I don't want them to rush, but they also need to do something, because they're going to be losing face pretty soon if they keep up with this dead time that they're in right now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think Xbox's biggest problem is first party. And this is something they've had for a while. And so I think Game Pass is, like, everyone knows the value of Game Pass, but Game Pass is built on what is being offered. And at this point, I feel like you're battling for people who are already in the console. You're not going for green space in terms of, people who aren't playing video games. Like, Xbox is now battling for PlayStation fans to come over. And if I have a PlayStation already and I'm looking at the situation, and I'm sure I can get, third parties, day and date, whatever. But the thing I'm not getting is I'm not getting those exclusives that I need, right? PlayStation is delivering, and that, and like, if Ragnarok comes out in 2022 is actually a really good year for PlayStation in terms of first parties. And with Xbox having nothing to show, that doesn't push the needle for PlayStation fanboys to jump ship, right? Like, to go out and get another console to just get that Game Pass. Like, it doesn't necessarily make it worthwhile for them. Sure, there's a lot of them that do, but it's not going to get more people if it's just, hey, you can get those third-party games here for a monthly fee of like $20 a month. Whereas what they need is, they need to have those games like Halo. They need to have their Forces. They need to have those regularly, and to not have them is not a good sign. Like, the fact that Xbox was talking about how many development companies that they've had and they've been acquiring, and the fact that we're not seeing anything getting pumped out. I understand there's a pandemic and things need to get set up, but they started announcing this back in 2018. We should be seeing some of the fruits of that labor coming out yet, and I don't know if we do. So I think what they need to do is they need to say 2023 is going to be a banger. Here's all the first party games that we have, and we know that some are coming, but I think they need to almost make 2023 be the year that you need to have an Xbox.
Yeah, you really should be saying that the first 6 months are going to be just nightmarish for Sony. Like, you should be basically saying Sony's going to be scared of our first and second quarter next year.
It doesn't need to be that. It needs to be the whole year. Like, you almost need to have something every.
Well, no, you need to start off with that bang, I think, because it's been such a dead year that I think they need to go, okay, look, there's been nothing but February, March, April, May, especially those months, because that's usually where the big start. February and May especially is when a lot comes out. They should be okay, quarter one, we're going to just pummel you with stuff so that you almost are bewildered by how much is coming.
Yeah.
No, I agree. 2023, if everything that's reported to come out next year comes out, it's going to be a phenomenal year. You're going to have Redfall and Starfield in the first 6 months. You're going to have Avowed, which is supposed to come out. Hellblade has a rumored chance to come out as well. Those four alone would make it an absolutely stellar year for Xbox first party, and kind of set them up to then go into 2024, get things like Fable, get things like Perfect Dark, get things like Everwild out the door. And those are introducing, a new IP, a reboot, and some established stuff. So I think Xbox I keep saying it. Yeah, I think we've said it for years now. It's like just a little bit longer, and then it's gonna be like where it needs to be. And I think people have kind of gotten sick of it because, to your point, Kaylan, this year hasn't done much to move the needle for Xbox, in my opinion. I think last year, I think did a good amount to move people to move the needle. There
Got
was
my
a
attention.
Yeah, there was a lot of attention. There was a lot of talk about Xbox Game Pass, what they were doing in the space that moved people from not from PlayStation, but in addition to PlayStation. They're like, hey, I'm
Yeah.
gonna grab a Series S. I'm gonna grab a Series X. And Series S, Xbox is still selling extremely well. Like
Oh yeah.
they're outpacing PlayStation some weeks. Like it, and I don't like to talk numbers because with the stock shortages right now, it doesn't really mean much. But we are seeing that people are buying the consoles at least. Like they could just be waiting. Um, but this year hasn't done much. This year has been let's have a consistent Game Pass drop, try to appease the people that are currently in the subscription service. But it hasn't had the same effect as last year where we got this day one, we got this day one, we got like, and then you're like, oh, I can save $60 if I just come over to Xbox. Like we need that, and then maybe they expected to like slow down on the third party because they wanted Redfall, Starfield, they wanted to ramp up first party this year, and they're like, well, that's really the appeal to Game Pass is our first party lineup. And now that that isn't there, people are like, well, we didn't make those third party deals, so now it's kind of barren over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we've discussed it before. Like, it really does feel like PlayStation is where you go for the highest quality of games. Xbox is where you go if you want the highest library of games, if you want the most overall thing. And then Nintendo is its own niche. So, like, it feels like what Xbox was doing for a while was saying, hey, like, they almost want to be like the second console that you come back to constantly because they keep refreshing the library. And it was doing a good job of that, and now it's kind of hit a bit of a slow point. And I think that's why, like you said earlier, 2023 is hoping to be a much better year where it does have a much more steady flow. So I would assume that by the time we finish Sunday's showcase, we're going to get a better sense of what next year's going to look like. But yeah, I don't know if there's going to be much they're going to do that's going to save like the next 6 months.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, let's actually just jump into it and talk about our predictions and what we think is going to come about. So we'll do the same order that we did for just the general predictions. Kev, if you want to go first, we got 3 predictions each. What's your first prediction for the Xbox showcase?
So I'm gonna start off with one that I think there's a decent chance of happening, and that is getting one of those third party double A games day and date. We already know it's coming to Game Pass, but I think it's gonna be out now type situation, and that's a Plague Tale Requiem. Where we haven't yet to get the release date for this game. People have data mined it, and some say it's July 17th, June 17th, whatever. We know a demo is being shown off, I think Friday at some game festival. My idea is that they're going to release it at the Xbox Showcase onto Game Pass. We already know it's coming to Game Pass, and this is kind of like here's our big June game. Like it's the third person over the shoulder narrative game. Like here you go. It's not first party, but I love the first one. It's one of my favorite games of all time. Like top 2 of last generation for me. So I think that has a good chance of dropping on Sunday.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like we haven't heard much of that one, and that seems to be tied pretty well with Xbox, so I could see it coming out. Adam, what do you got for you? You mentioned one already. I don't know if you want to mention it again or go more in depth on it.
Well, yeah, I'll start with just readjusting to what I said. Like, I think that we probably hear something related to another way that Game Pass is going to be shelled out, and whether that means like through smart TVs or something like that. I think, and this is just my opinion of like what I would be doing in this case with how much is going on, or how less is going on, I should say. The focus right now, if it's not going to be about games, you want to push Game Pass to as many customers as you can. And if you can get it on smart TVs where you push xCloud even harder, I think that's a way for them at least to make some more money without, having to, spend, I guess, another like $50-100 billion to get another company that the FCC is going to be like, all right, guys, come on, that's enough. So That's to me is like probably the biggest, like, I'm gonna really fish for that one. I don't think I'm gonna actually be right on that, but that's one that I kind of, because it's been a rumor for so long, you keep wondering if it's gonna be this is the time that they finally say it's happening.
So you say it's been a rumor for so long. To fuel that fire, Tom Henderson today literally just came out and said before Summer Game Fest on Thursday, Xbox is going to announce that their Samsung app is ready. So this could be closer than you realize, Adam. But we'll wait and see. It's obviously still rumors at this point.
Yeah, it's been one of those things that like we've known for a while that I just kind of assumed at one point they'd be like, maybe it's just not feasible at this point. Maybe it's something that's still gonna need like way too, especially with internet connections the way that they are. It's still such a difficult sell. Not to mention you have to book it with very specific TVs because again, most of these games are running natively in 60 frame or at least 1080p, some even 4K. So it's like it's going to be a difficult adjustment because you're going to need specific TVs that can run that. So,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about that. Like, it's depending on how, if it's streaming from a service, kind of like.
well,
PlayStation
either
Now
that
was
or you're
for a
going to need
while.
one hell of a connection that can keep up with it.
You're going to need a good connection, which I don't think most of the United States has.
No, not
Well,
with
it's
the
not
way
much
you
better
guys
here in
run things
Canada.
over there.
Not much better here in Canada, Adam.
You say that, but at least we have more than two choices.
I don't know if we do.
Oh, I did.
Anyways.
I just recently upgraded. I just recently went from 110 to 1.5 gig, 500, I think it is for up. So
I hate you so much right now.
Wow, my download is 500, I think, and my up is like 100 something.
yeah, I
My internet-
got a nice beauty upgrade.
My ISP tells me it's 100, but they tell me don't to check it.
Yeah. It's 100 on a
but you
good
don't.
day.
It's 100, but you don't need to check it. Just trust us. For me, I'm gonna go with my first one. Kind of tailing off what we talked about. Hellblade 2, I think is gonna have a release date this year. I've been going through and looking at 2, and I think Hellblade 2 is gonna be shown trailer release date, and I think the release date will be 2022. I think Xbox,
Wow.
like we said, does need, and like I've heard both. Some saying that it is 2023. I think I saw as late as like May 5th, they were saying 2022 for Hellblade. So I think Xbox needs something, and I think that'll be something similar to like a Plague's Tale, where they'll be like, yep, here's a game, day one, ready to go. And I think that's what they need. So Hellblade 2, I think trailer release. We've already seen quite a bit. It looks pretty far in development that I can see them doing a gameplay trailer and then releasing like November.
So that would make me lose my mind. Like I will clip out me screaming if we get Hellblade 2 this year. I don't know if it's gonna happen. Ninja Theory is interesting because the first Hellblade, what came out in 2017, I believe.
I think it was earlier than that. Let me.
Was it? I wanted to say it was 2017, but
You are right. August 8th,
okay.
2017.
Yeah,
Well
so
done,
it's been almost 5 years, which in my mind is plenty of time to make a sequel. We also know that they're working on two other projects. One's like a horror game, Project Mara, and I forget the other one in development. I don't think they're a particularly big studio. I'd like to think Hellblade is getting the majority of their development workforce. So if they can get this out this year, I think that's a huge win. And I think everyone kind of forgets that Starfield and Redfall got delayed.
Yeah, I think that's like this is one of I don't know. I've never considered Hellblade a triple A game, but it's definitely like a decent second double A. It's like a decent double A game, and I think does it make up for Starfield or whatever? No, it does not. But it at least gives something that people are excited for. The first Hellblade was really well liked, and like you said, 5 years is a normal cycle period, and they've just got injected with Microsoft money, so like they do have the funds that they could, you know, they could get pushed out and they could get the support that they need, that they can work faster than what they did previously in the last game. And maybe Xbox is desperate and they say, what do you guys need to get this done?
Yeah. So you mentioned like how you never thought of Hellblade as a AAA game, and that's fair because the first one is indie. It's an indie game meant to have the style of a AAA game.
Yes.
But with the Microsoft money that they got, I think people are expecting, at least I am, Hellblade 2 to kind of take that step up into the AAA space. It's kind of meant to elevate it to that level in my mind. That's how I've always viewed the sequel, is that they got this money. They're going to take, like, Hellblade 1's combat was atrocious. The puzzles, like there was a lot of things
It's
like you could
basic.
tell it. Yeah, you could tell it was an indie game.
Mhm.
And this is like my favorite game of last generation. Like I absolutely adore Hellblade from the storytelling perspective. To me, this game is Hellblade 2 needs to come out and be kind of like God of War 2018.
Yeah, I agree. And like, I'm not trying to say that it won't be, like, it very well could just come out and be an amazing, it could be an amazing AAA game. I'm just going with the last game. It felt double A. It felt that indie with a AAA polish on it. I don't know if necessarily money is the issue for it. Like, you know, they're not known for having a lot of games that I can say, oh yeah, I see a trajectory, right? That this is now going to be a AAA game. It has everything that it needs to, but is the team yet ready to be a full AAA game? And depending on how much you've scaled up, if they came out and said, hey, yeah, Hellblade is a AAA experience, great. I wouldn't be surprised. However, I'm going in with the mindset that I am just expecting a polished version of Hellblade and see what that looks like. I don't have the anticipation of this is the next AAA game, but I can see an argument for why it could be. So,
That's fine.
yeah. Prediction 1, Hellblade 2, 2022.
Is it back to me now?
Back to you, sir.
All right. So I think this one's a lock. I think this one is 100% happening. Is Obsidian's Project Pentiment is going to get revealed, and it's coming out this year. This is it's like an 11-person team working on it with inside Obsidian, led by Josh Sawyer. And it's going to be kind of like Disco Elysium, so like that detective style game. Set in I forget what 16th century, I think, Europe, solving a murder. It's not going to be the major, like it's a AAA game, because it's very, very, from what's been reported, this is supposed to be an indie feeling game. But I do think that this gets announced and that we see gameplay and that it comes out this year.
That'd be a very interesting
This
one.
year.
I've still got to go and play Disco Elysium. That's on the list of many things I still got to play.
Disco Elysium is just too intimidating for me. I just look at it, it's like huge and just so many paths, and I'm just like,
I've never
overwhelming.
played it.
Yeah. I've heard great things, but just overwhelmingly just too big.
It's
Same.
sitting on my computer. It's waiting, but it's just buried in the list of other things I still haven't gotten to. So
Yeah, that's a good prediction. We goes there. Adam, what do you got?
number 2 for me is going to be. It might be a lock because it's been rumored for a while now, but I think like there's been a thing for a while about Xbox getting together and trying to remake GoldenEye. And that's something that's been passed around a bunch. And as much as to my dismay, I don't want to see it because the last time somebody tried to, it was awful. If anybody remembers GoldenEye Reloaded, it was terrible.
I do.
But I think they're going to try. And I hope that if that is the case, because I don't know anything about it, because I only recently became aware of it when I was kind of researching for all of this to try to prepare myself for what might be coming. It's one of those things that, like, every time somebody tries to do one of these level games, like one of these really legendary games that everybody remembers, it almost always just isn't going to live up to the expectations of what it used to be because you can't beat the nostalgia factor to it. So what I hope they do is, instead of just trying to be like, hey, isn't it cool that we're redoing this game that you guys love? It should just be like, we don't actually care what you guys remember of the old game. We're doing what we think this game would be in our hands, instead of, trying to like appeal to the nostalgia factor to it. I hope that what they do is just, they're going to make like a 2020 first person shooter that is way better streamlined, because Lord knows if you play the original now, it does not control the same way it used to. You think it does. So I'm hoping that they at least try to do something better with it. But I fear that when I do see the trailer of this thing, if I am right that it's going to be there, I'm going to shake my head and be like, no, please stop.
So I can kind of guarantee that this is happening. You're it's not going to be what you want, unfortunately, Adam.
That's kind of where I'm thinking anyway.
It's 100% going to be like a remaster of the N64 game. But this is 100% happening. I think you have a nailed on prediction here.
Okay.
I think for GoldenEye, I think you got to do it one of two ways. I think doing the campaign, I think you make the campaign like a third person game. There was limitations of the N64 that kind of would, if you were to remake that game now, doing the campaign, it would seem very basic and very playing it. I don't know if necessarily you need to do it. So I think having something fresh, like Adam said, would be good. However, I think most people, if you talk to them, what they remember of GoldenEye is the multiplayer. And I think if you just came up with a multiplayer GoldenEye game, don't even bother with the campaign, just make an arena shooter kind of thing. And I'm not saying arena shooter in the sense of like everyone has powers and stuff, but just make it, hey, here's the GoldenEye multiplayer experience that you remember with 2022 controls. I think that would be a hit. You sell it for 20, $30. You have all the characters, you have all the modes, you have Big Head, you have Golden Gun, you have Slappers Only, all that stuff. Just make it as we remember it. And I think that would be a hit. If you have the right budget and you budget it and you price it correctly, I think that would be a good hit. But I don't think you need to do a full GoldenEye reboot.
There is also a certain bit of humor in the fact that like we're gonna get a GoldenEye remake or remaster, whatever it may be, before Perfect Dark, even though Perfect Dark has been known for years now.
Yeah, different scope projects though, right?
Yeah, I know, but it's still funny.
Yeah.
GoldenEye came out first. They're going with consistency.
I'm just excited for everyone to boot up the GoldenEye remaster that they're gonna put out, and then realize that this game controls terribly.
Yeah, I still gotta get like I've seen things about how you can play like a PC version of it that's like with mouse and keyboard that runs at 60 frames, and I'm like, that sounds amazing. I need that.
Oh, this better run 120. They better up this frame rate, like FPS boost. You better get to work.
My second prediction, we're going to get a full Indiana Jones trailer with a 2023 release date.
Ooh, you had me into the last part. Here's
my thing. So one, Machine Games hasn't made a game since what? 2018?
I'm not sure when Wolfenstein, whatever that bad one came out was. Right?
I'm looking up.
Not late enough.
That was a small team. That wasn't a full-sized game, I don't think.
Youngblood was 2019, by the way.
So, I mean, it's been some time. And like the other thing too is that there was supposed to be an Indiana Jones movie this year that got pushed out to 2023. So you're right in that window. Machine Games hasn't done or released anything in a little while, and I don't think that Youngblood was a full-sized Wolfenstein experience. So like I could see a 2023 release. For sure we're going to see a trailer, but I think we're going to see a 2023 release. And this is all part of my Xbox needs to have a killer 2023 year.
I'm actually of half a mind that I think you're more likely to see a Wolfenstein title out of them than the Indiana Jones one.
Really?
Yes.
They've already announced. They announced.
But Wolfenstein 3 is also in production. That's why I think that they'll be more likely to talk about that, because let's be honest, they like to bludgeon you over the head with stuff that you already have, and Wolfenstein just seems to be their new bludgeon tool lately.
See, I disagree. I think the fact that we've already got the announcement for an Indiana Jones game back in 2021, this was already in development, so I think we're going to see Indiana Jones before we see Wolfenstein. I think after Youngbloods, they probably want to let Wolfenstein take a bit of a nap before they come back to it.
Doubt it, but we'll see when I stream this on Sunday. And if I see Wolfenstein and I see no Indiana Jones, I am going to call your ass out. And if the opposite happens, I'll be like, damn it.
If the other happens, you'll just let it go.
Hey, like, shit. We won't mention it. He won't mention it.
Never heard of Kaylan. Nope. Pixel what?
You Pixel what?
Do you not know me well enough? I'm self-deprecating. I'll make fun of myself for the rest of the stream.
I'm conflicted. So I can see a teaser trailer getting dropped. I do not think this game is 2023 though. I think this game is like 2025, to be honest with you. I think this is very far off.
Yeah, I would agree. I think if we see anything with Indiana Jones, you'll see like the still footage of like a hat and a lasso on the desk or something.
Well, we already saw that. That was already.
So okay, sorry. It'll be a mirror image, so it'll look different. And if you're lucky, it'll be like a gun in a holster.
But I do think Wolfenstein 3 is coming before Indiana Jones. I'm happy to be proven wrong, because we were talking about Indiana Jones last week on Project XTalk, and we were like, just make it an Uncharted clone. Just make it Xbox Uncharted. Like, first of all, I think it's gonna be multi-plat. I think it's gonna be multi-plat.
Circle. I think they've already announced it's gonna be multi-plat. But full circle, that an Uncharted game is ripping off, or an Indiana Jones game is ripping off an Uncharted game, which is just a rip-off of Indiana Jones.
And that's why it'd be great. Like, look, if it's a good formula, don't fix it. Just redo it.
Let's copy the guy that was copying our homework.
Technically, it was copying Tomb Raider that was copying Indiana Jones, and that was.
Machine Games should be playing Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 4 and being like, do
dare you,
that.
sir.
Write
How
that
dare you.
down.
Yeah.
Write that down.
How dare you, sir?
What?
Uncharted 3 is getting snubbed?
Yes.
That is
I picked the two good ones.
How dare you?
See, I don't even like the trilogy that much, but I'll say if there was a good one out of it, it's 2.
How dare you both?
I haven't played it. I haven't played any of them. I'm just going off what people tell me. 2 and 4 are the best ones. So
You have been so
Out of the
biased.
trilogy, 2 is the best one.
2 is not the best one. 3 is the best one.
Well, the tie vote went to the guy who's listening to his friends, so guess who's wrong?
I'm gonna throw this on Twitter this week, and we'll see who comes back with which one is the better one.
And then we'll win, and
I'm
we'll see
not putting
Kaylan be very
4.
quiet on this one.
4 is its own little category, and like I'll give 4 is amazing. It's a great game, but like of that 2, 3 is definitely superior than 2. I throw it on Twitter, and all 5 of our listeners who follow us on Twitter will respond to this and let us know.
I'll make sure I ask Chris this when we record on Thursday, and I'll make sure that I let you know if you're wrong as well.
Okay, well we'll see.
all right.
All right, cool. So that was my prediction. Last one, Kev. What do you have?
So I think this is the year, guys, that finally happens. We're going to get one of the major JRPGs from PlayStation coming over into Xbox, launching into Xbox Game Pass. We're either getting Final Fantasy VII Remake or Persona 5 Royal.
I would
This
say
is the year.
it's 7 Remake. I really think Persona 5 is staying away.
I want Persona more than
Here's the thing.
FF7R,
Persona
but
5 hasn't been given a PC release yet, so I don't think that it would go Xbox. I think you would be more likely to see Remake, which has already had a PC release now. So
personally, I think Atlas just needs to put Persona 5 Royal on everything, and this can just be their announcement for that.
yeah, did they not see how well Persona 4 Golden did? But a lot of Japanese companies are a little bit slow when it comes to Western stuff, so that's probably why. There's been a joke for a while in the community that you'll see Strikers on PC before Persona 5 Royal will be.
Strikers is on PC already.
Is it? Oh, well, then never mind. The joke's already completed.
It launched on PC with it was PlayStation, PC, and Switch.
Never mind then.
But they do make weird decisions because like Soul Hackers 2 is coming to Xbox, PlayStation, and not coming to Switch. But Persona 4 Arena Ultimax came to PlayStation, PC, and Switch, and not Xbox, even though the original was on Xbox. They just make weird decisions over at Atlas. I swear they have a board that they throw darts on. It's like, what platforms are bringing the game to?
Well, thankfully they haven't hit Stadia for anything yet, so.
I think if I was betting, I would bet that Persona comes to Xbox before Final Fantasy. And my only thing is, I think Sony is spending a lot of time and a lot of money to court Square Enix to get them under their wing. I think Square Enix is more likely and more willing to sort of become like if I were to say, hey, Square Enix has got bought out by a first party, it would definitely be Sony that got it. So I think Sony's putting a lot of time to make that Final Fantasy sort of thing theirs. And we're seeing that with the advertising that we're seeing for their other games. I think Sony's putting a lot of effort to get Square Enix. I think Square Enix is getting poised for a sale, and I think Sony's lining themselves up for that. And part of that is exclusivity with Square Enix games, at least on the Japanese side. I think Sega is more in a better spot where they don't need to be partnering or being first party. So I could see them of the two, and I don't feel confident.
They can put Sonic Frontiers and leave it on Xbox. I've seen the gameplay trailer. I don't want it. Keep it over there. Actually, you know what? Make it Switch integral. Keep it away from both consoles. I'm
convinced Sonic Frontiers is getting slandered because whatever the footage they're showing off is doing this game no favors. Because you read what the IGN person is saying about the gameplay loop, and the gameplay loop sounds awesome. Like, you are in the overworld, you collect things that open up linear levels, and then you go have more traditional Sonic levels. You come back, you get a chaos. Like, there's a gameplay loop there that sounds good. I just don't know why they're showing it like this. But I think Sega has a better relationship with Xbox right now than they do PlayStation.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah. So Atlas being understood.
Yeah.
It's one of those, like, I don't know. I'm not saying I agree with your prediction. I don't think it's going to happen. However, of the two, I think Sega and Atlas is more likely to play ball with Xbox than Square Enix is.
Nah, they're just getting Persona 4 Arena readjusted for it. That's it. That's all you're getting.
Can we get Persona 4 Golden at least?
You're driving a hard bargain there.
I'll take Persona 3. That's like, give me
That's
some.
another thing. I am surprised that Persona 3 FES hasn't gotten any sort of a re-release. If they've already done Golden.
It's got to be coming. It's got to be coming at some point.
I think Sonic Frontiers is gonna be amazing because you know what else had a terrible review when it first got released? The Sonic 1 trailer, and look how that turned out.
Yeah, but I think it's faster to change the CG of something than it is to completely remake a game that looks like it's being made in Unreal assets.
I'm just saying that's the way that Sonic does.
Yeah, it's true.
They make amazing trailers. The games come out and look like crap. They put out crappy trailers. Game comes out a hit.
That's just the new strategy for Sega. Anything
Strategy,
Sonic related, it looks
set
like
the bar so low for Sonic, and then he can just jump over it.
Sonic Frontiers for Game Pass, baby.
Let's go. Adam, what's your final? We know what your final prediction is, but if you want to go ahead and in depth, or no, you didn't talk about this one.
I
yet.
did. Well, I was gonna say the 7 remake thing because that's what I figured. I could go on an even easier limb and say Forza Motorsport 8 is gonna get announced because I think that's like a layup. But let me throw a little bit of a random one. Even though the acquisition, I guess it is an Activision acquisition, since it is potentially coming soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we see announced that the new Modern Warfare 2 is going to be a day one Game Pass thing, like just as a small thing there.
Like exclusive to Game Pass, or just it's gonna be a day one Game Pass?
I mean, at this point, I don't even know if they make Call of Duty exclusive to Game Pass anyway, or into Xbox anyway.
Oh, so you're just saying,
I think they'll say, hey, it's game one. It'll be day one.
That's not even a layup. You are literally taking a dunk on a Fisher Price basketball net.
You say that, but like we don't even know that it's technically like going to be. Whatever.
I think you're taking a dunk on a Fisher Price basketball.
All right, fine. Well, fuck you. Phil Spencer comes out in a Nintendo shirt. There, how's that?
There you go.
That's actually pretty plausible, I think.
I can see that.
Yeah. What's your final one, Kaylan?
I have two. I have an easy one. I was gonna say we're gonna see. I've got one that I want to happen and one that should happen. I think we're gonna get a Contraband full a gameplay trailer, or at least like a cinematic trailer. That game I think had a lot of interest and we don't know anything about it, so I think that one does need some details on it. Plus they just renewed the trademark for it, so there's definitely some life to that game. But the one I really want to see is Fable 4. What the hell's going on with Fable 4? That game is,
by the sound of it, nothing.
That game needs to be seen. Like, that game has been announced and been talked about for how many years, and we're still years out. Like, what was the last? Have we seen anything from Fable 4?
Nope.
No, we saw that little teaser, the announcement trailer,
like the little fairy,
in 2020.
It's been a few years already.
Was it the Series X launch, a reveal thing? Is that when they talked about?
That might have been it.
It was either 2019 or 2020. Yeah,
so we
it's
need
been a
to
while.
see something about Fable. I feel like this is one of those IPs that I feel like Xbox is sitting on. That if they could get it out, it would really push the needle a bit, because I mean, I loved Fable. I've played all 3 of them, and granted, they're not all masterpieces, but that's one of those series that if Xbox said, "Hey, guess what's back?" I would definitely consider getting an Xbox, because I loved Fable for what it was.
I think a trailer is possible. I think it's still 2 years away from release.
Yeah,
though,
it won't be
at
gameplay
least.
if there is.
Yeah, because it was announced 2020, because I watched it while I thought I had COVID, so I remember sitting there in a mask watching the gameplay or the showcase. So it's been 2 years. I think that's enough time to get something for a trailer out. I don't think it's close to release, though.
No, I don't think it's close to release. I would hope that they have a gameplay trailer. They can't come out with another cinematic trailer.
They won't have a gameplay trailer. There's not a chance.
You don't even think they can make a silo in 2 years and
Nope.
be like, "Hey, here's a game"?
Nope.
Well, they've been doing Forza Horizon 5, so I think they didn't really it didn't really get going until Forza Horizon 5 finished, and they still have a small team doing DLC for that. So maybe some.
I always forget that those
alpha.
two teams are making. I always forget that those two teams are making the same thing.
Yeah, it's weird. And there was reports recently that Fable's not going well with the Forza engine, and they kind of dismissed that. But I trust them. Forza Horizon 5 is the absolute gorgeous game that it is. So I'm giving them some credit and some time. But yeah, if we could see something, that'd be pretty cool.
I think we need something to show that thing is still doing well, and it's not just one. I think they just announced that game way too early, but that seems to be sort of a trend for Xbox.
All right. Well, you guys made fun of my one take. I'll give you one more actually like throwaway one. Since they've been working with Lucasfilm for potentially on something, I think we'll see some sort of a trailer for a Mandalorian game. That's the last like throw in I'll throw in there.
Oh my god, that would definitely push me to buying an Xbox.
That'd be a big one last thing moment.
Yeah.
There's my big one. There you go. Have fun.
Watch, they missed the mark and they went for Boba Fett, the book of Boba Fett. They're like, damn it, we bet on the wrong one.
No, it'll be an Obi-Wan game, and the whole objective is just to make sure you're higher up on the hill.
No, they're like, what's the difference? Mandalorian, Boba Fett? I don't get it. Aren't they the
Just
same?
imagine like there's like a scene where they're just like in the boardroom, just like yelling at the table. It's like, it's Boba Fett. How did we think that Boba Fett was not going to be a hit? Like, who the hell is this Mandalorian guy? We don't even know what his name is. It's Boba Fett. He was the sure thing, and now, God, Book of Boba Fett pissed me off.
Now I'm just imagining like if you ever make a trailer for an Obi-Wan based game, like you should be playing Higher Ground as the theme music for that trailer.
It's just a tower building
just for
game.
memes.
Building a tower higher and higher than the other person.
Yeah, you know.
That's all I got. Any closing thoughts on the Xbox showcase? Anything you guys want to talk about before we wrap that up and move into our final segment, Trophy Stumpers?
Bring Banjo Kazooie back.
Bring back the banjo.
Bring back the banjo. That's all I gotta say.
Another one that needs to come back. It's funny. Xbox has all these IPs that they're sitting on, and they just need to. They need to capitalize on them and like properly. Like that's always the caveat.
The year Banjo comes back is the year you get me on stream crying. Like I will fall out of my chair and you'll just hear like whimpers on the ground, screaming, tears of joy.
Yeah,
you'll soon get Persona 5.
No,
we're gonna get Banjo. The fact that he showed up in Smash.
Look, I just like torturing his brain. That's all.
Adam, be nice. We want him to come back.
Absolutely not. I will not.
My boy. Right. He's gonna do trophy stumpers with me.
My boy Banjo. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's wrap up the show with what is our weekly game that we play here, Trophy Stumpers. I give 10 trophies or achievements. There is one guess after 5 trophies and one guess after 10 trophies. These are trophies or achievements. It could be any platform that has a trophies or achievements. Gentlemen, are you guys ready to go?
Okay.
We working as a team? How's this working?
You guys can if you want.
You want to go against each other or work together?
Want to do it versus the first one who can get it gets it.
Yeah, let's go against. I don't want to team up.
All right, all right.
So we'll give you guys each 2 guesses. And I will open it that you guys can make a guess as soon as you're ready. If you get it right, great. And if not, you lose a guess, and then we'll keep going until one of you guys is ready to guess. Yeah, so we'll do first trophy or achievement is one-time gig.
One-time gig? Okay.
Second trophy, paranormal investigator. Third one is trapped like sewer rats. Kevin, you got something? Your mic didn't pick it up.
No, I'm just thinking.
Shout it out when you guys are ready. All right. Mercenary endeavors. We got one-time gig, paranormal investigators, trapped like sewer rats, and mercenary endeavors. Fifth one, the pizza in the sky.
Okay.
Bonds of friendship.
Oh.
Adam, what do you got?
Oh, it's Final Fantasy VII Remake, isn't it?
It's Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Yes! Pizza in the sky. I thought about it for a second. I'm like, I know I've seen this on my screen. What fucking game was that? And then it finally clicked.
Yeah. The other trophies we had were Bonds of Friendships, Lights Out, Snappy Dresser, Say It With Flowers, and Biker Boy.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think I would have got that regardless. That is not... I got like 40% of the trophies in that game. That was not one I like heavily invested in.
Because I think Pizza in the Sky has something to do with the plate.
I've never played the game.
Pizza in the Sky trophy.
I let you down, Banjo.
You know how hard it was to find trophies that like gave hints without like never playing the game. I have no idea what I'm picking, but I'm just like, oh, I kind of know some of these things and like trying to pick ones that don't necessarily give it away. But yeah.
Yeah, I think Pizza in the Sky is the chat. I think that's assuming the chapter when they drop Plate 7, which I don't care if that's a spoiler in 7 remake. The game that it came from is X amount of time old. Come on.
It's like what, 20, 30 years old?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that achievement is when you finish the chapter where the plate gets dropped, so I think that's why.
Kevin, don't feel too bad. Adam has had a lot of practice and a lot of L's to get to this point, so don't sweat it.
I swear I get these when I'm listening, and yeah, that's what I'm sticking with.
Hey, the pressure's on now.
I didn't expect him to pick a JRPG, especially when we talked about so much this episode. When he hasn't played.
I like to throw curveballs like that. I once just picked Mass Effect 1. I picked Mass Effect when Adam said, you like one day you're gonna pick Mass Effect and I'm gonna get it in the first one. And I'm like, I call your bluff, sir. And he did not.
Yeah, I remember that.
Because after a decade, my brain went, oh yeah, the Mass Effect 2 achievements are like really nondescript. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot about all that.
It's a big game, sir. He didn't deliver.
Yeah, I'm like the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't show up when it counts the most.
Exactly. Ooh. Awesome. Well, Kevin, thank you so much for joining us. Hey, if people want to hear more about Xbox and they want to hear your sultry voice, where can they find you?
They can come over to Project XTalk, an Xbox podcast, on all audio feeds, or just Project XTalk, the YouTube channel. We have content going out most days during the week, whether it's a podcast or a video, a review. I just did a review for Super Perils of Baking, the new game from Lilymo Games. So that's up on the channel. You can go check that out. Again, all audio feeds. Appreciate anyone that stops by, leaves us a review. We have a Patreon. You can go support us over there if you really like the content. And we have some stuff in the works that I think everyone will like, not just Xbox fans. So you might be seeing something different from us real soon. If you want to come over, hit that subscribe button for that future content. I would appreciate it. But guys, thanks so much for having me again. I always love stopping by, and we will do this again real soon. You guys are on my list to get back on our channel and everything. I when you have a list,
you don't have to bring Adam. I can.
He didn't say how far down the list we are. Just for keep that in mind.
Well, I do have a list. Chris is on the list above because he hasn't been on yet.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I'm working through. But you're on the list. Don't worry.
Although if Chris is on the list, it's mostly going to be to talk about hexagon strategies after everything failed.
Okay, maybe I need to cross him off the list then. But yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, he's charming. There's a reason we don't put him on this podcast. So. Thanks so much for having us, or for joining us. We really appreciate it. And ladies and gentlemen, if you like what you hear, you can always find more of us wherever you get your podcast by searching for PixelPlay Podcast or on YouTube, PixelPlay Podcast. If you want to send us trophy stumpers or questions, topics, we're happy to talk about them on the show. Email us at PixelPlayPodcast. And we also have our socials, PixelPlayCast. And there's a Discord in our link tree if you want to find us there. Join other fans and join us, and we can have a chat as well. Looking forward to talking with you, and we'll see you guys next week. Bye for now.